So the concept of sustainable development has an increasing importance at the international and at the European level. And if it is as of today so important at the European level, part of the merit is of the developments or at the international level. And but this fundamental role of the concept of sustainable development is confirmed by the circumstance that on the sustainable development, as you remember, the very important conferences at the global level took place. You remember the conference of Rio on the environment and development of 1992, the so-called Rio 92. Then we mentioned the Johannesburg conference on sustainable development of 2002. And furthermore, the Rio Plus 20, the conference which took place in 2012, and the related concluding documents, in particular the declaration of the principles of Rio, the Rio principles, and the implementation plan, and furthermore the declaration of Johannesburg on sustainable development. And furthermore, the document, the final document called The Future We Want of Rio Plus 20. Further to this, the resolution adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations called Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which has been signed in New York from the 25th to the 27th September 2015. This document, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, highlighted new objectives for sustainable development up until 2030. So this document replaces the document laid down on the 18th of September 2000, which contained the 8 goals of sustainable development, has highlighted in the Millennium Declaration of the United Nations. So if we step back for a moment to the World Conference on Environment of Stockholm in 1972, that conference had a fundamental impact in the determination of the content of the concept of sustainable development. As the declaration of in that declaration of Stockholm, have been formalized the concept of sustainable development as we know it today. Indeed, it has been highlighted that the essence of sustainability emerged already from Principle 13 of the Declaration of the Principles of Stockholm, which stimulates the states to adopt a coordinated approach of their plans of development so that their progress is compatible with the necessity to protect and to improve environments. And if we look at the principles 3 and 5 of the Declaration of Stockholm, they recall the need of the non-exhaustion of the renewable natural resources, and the need to maintaining and improving the capacities of the earth to produce essentially renewable resources. So it is from the concluding documents of these world conferences that it is necessary to make refer to the concluding documents of these conferences in order to delineate, we would say, the fundamental contents which gradually shaped the concept of sustainable development as we know it today. And as concerns its progressive implementation, affirmation, both at international level and at the level of the European Union. So we can share the view according to which, in the framework of this principle, we have significant elements. And we have to find key points in order to understand what is concretely sustainable development. So let's look at the interpretation of the concept of sustainable development. It has been highlighted that the Rio Declaration contains already the key elements of the concept of sustainable development. The right to development, principle number 3, the approach of integration, principle number 4, from which emerged that the integration between environmental themes, environmental topics, and development is the modus operandi, so the way of proceeding of the sustainable development. And the absolutely important fight for eliminating poverty, principle 5. Because you remember we mentioned in previous lectures that it is crucial to reduce and hopefully to eliminate poverty. Because poverty is the door not only to personal human tragedies, but also to a worse relationship to the environment. It is proved that poor countries are, even if they have not a lot of industries, they are also contributing in a significant way to the pollution because they have no access to those technologies. I'm not saying that developed countries are polluting less, but in proportion, the circumstance that the poor countries do not have access to efficient energies, to efficient, to modern and less polluting technologies, leads to the situation that in poor countries, you can think, for instance, so India is not necessarily everywhere poor, but there are suburban areas, poor places where there is an incredible high level of pollution determined by the use of combustion and fuels which are not compatible with environment for heating and so on. Therefore, poverty is the door to not only to human diseases, but also to environmental damages, which at the very end also produce human diseases. So poverty has to be fight against. Furthermore, in the principle 4 of the Rio Declaration, the principle 4 of the Rio Declaration conceptually connects the development of the environment with the circumstance that such development cannot be realized independently from the conservation of natural resources. So a fundamental and further completion of the content of the concept of sustainable environment, a fundamental and further enhancement of the content of the concept of sustainable development took place with the introduction of the third pillar of sustainable development in the two concluding documents of the Johannesburg Conference, which took place from the 26th August to the 4th of September 2002. The so-called World Summit on Sustainable Development. So the Johannesburg Declaration on Sustainable Development and the plan of implementation highlight the third pillar of the concept of sustainable development. You can find it in this third pillar of the concept of sustainable development. The third pillar is the social development. So the social development as the third pillar of the concept of sustainable development. Indeed, the concept of sustainable development, which emerged from the Johannesburg World Summit on Sustainable Development, is a multi-dimensional concept. A multi-dimensional concept in which are encompassed not only the economic development and the environmental protection, but also the social development, the third pillar. First pillar, economic development. Second pillar, environmental protection. Third pillar, social development. Okay? Three interdepending pillars. Three pillars on which are based the concept of sustainable development. So therefore, it has been affirmed the importance to enhance, to strengthen the three pillars of sustainable development, which are equally important and interdependent among each other. Okay? So let's have a focus. Let's remember properly these three pillars, three interdependent pillars: economic development, environmental protection, social development, which are equally important and interdependent. And these three pillars are the structure on which the sustainable development is based. So later on, even in the concluding document of the Rio Plus 20, the document called The Future We Want, it has been underlined the tri-dimensional nature of sustainable development. In particular, the point 56, which has been underlined the importance to realize a sustainable development in his three dimensions. Those documents, those concluding documents, are reconducted in the framework of the soft law, which includes a broad variety of instruments which are not binding, which are used in the international relations. Among them, the declaration of interstatual conferences, as, for instance, the Stockholm Declaration on the Human Environment of 1972, the Rio Declaration of 1992 on Environment and Development, and many more documents. And furthermore, it has to be considered that the concept of sustainable development is expressly provided in the totality of the conventions, international environmental treaties and conventions. For instance, the concept of sustainable development is mentioned in Article 2 of the Convention on Biological Diversity, which defines as sustainable the use of biological resources according to modalities and at the rhythm which do not cause a reduction long term, which safeguard the capacity to satisfy the needs of the present and future generations, because we have to think also of the future generations. In particular, Article 2 of this Convention on Biological Diversity, Article 2 states that under the concept of durable utilization, durable use, it has to be intended the use of the components of biological diversity in a way, with a rhythm that do not produce the decline on a long term of this biological diversity, thereby safeguarding its potential in order to satisfy the needs and the aims of present and future generations. This has been underlined also in Article 10 of the same convention, which regards the durable utilization and therefore sustainable utilization of elements of the biological diversity. So it has been expressly mentioned also in the Framework Convention on the Climate Changes at Article 2, which defines the objectives to stabilize, in conformity of the provisions of the Convention, to stabilize the gas concentrations, CO2, at the level which excludes each dangerous interference of human activities on climate system. It's very, very challenging, this goal. I'm not very sure we are on a good point on the path to reaching it, but nevertheless, it's a goal. It's important to have goals in order to reach that. So such level has to be reached according to this Framework Convention on Climate Changes. This goal has to be reached in a sufficient period of time in order to permit to the ecosystems to naturally adapt to climate changes, in order to guarantee that the food production is not threatened by economic development and can continue to at a sustainable rhythm. And furthermore, also Article 3 of that convention, concerning the principles on which the convention has been founded at paragraph 1, according to which parties have to protect the climate system for the purpose of the present and future generations on equal basis. So you see, for instance, we have a look at paragraph 4 of the same Article 3, which states that the parties have the right and the duty to promote a sustainable development, and also paragraph 5, which provides that parties collaborate in order to promote an economic system, international economic system, which is open and cooperative, which leads to a growth and economic development which is sustainable in all its parties. In particular way, in the parties which are countries which are on the way of development countries, which will have therefore the opportunity to fight better against problems derived by climate changes. Because if you imagine, we are Europe, North America, China, and so on, and other countries, India, we are polluting a lot. We are causing climate changes. And where do those climate changes produce their hardest consequences at the beginning? If we don't stop these climate changes, hard consequences will hit also our countries. And they are also already starting hitting them. But if you think at scarcities, at lack of rain, at a lot of consequences, where did they start happening? In the poorer countries who already had been deprived of resources by us. Therefore, there is a mix, there is a synergy of negative elements which hurt those poor countries as a consequence of the unsustainable development. Therefore, it's of essential importance for humanitarian and also for economic reasons to protect, to act smoothly in order to avoid that such countries suffer under such an important hard problem. So, as concerns the context, the framework of the World Trade Organization, the objectives of sustainable development and environmental protection, they find concretization in the agreement which instituted the World Trade Organization. Indeed, in such agreement, the principles, the objectives, the goals of sustainable development and environmental protection have been stated officially, expressly stated in the preamble. At the first paragraph, can you imagine, the World Trade Organization founding agreement, first paragraph states that in conformity with the goal of sustainable development, which aims to protect and preserve environment and enhance instruments for pursuing such goal in a way which is compatible with the respective needs and respective problems deriving from different levels of economic development. And therefore, the acknowledgement of economic sustainable development as an integral part of the multilateral commercial system states the importance which is assumed by the environmental protection among the countries which are members of the World Trade Organization. Also in the Doha Declaration, adopted by the fourth conference of the ministries in the framework of the World Trade Organization, at paragraph 6 of this Doha Declaration, they state that practically underlines the commitment for the goal of sustainable development. And it has been furthermore underlined that the goals of protection of a commercial system, multilateral commercial system, which is open and non-discriminatory, and the goal to protect environment and promote sustainable development has to be conceived as a mutual help, a mutual support. And therefore, the states which signed the agreement founding the World Trade Organization uh, underline the commitment of such institution in order to realize a more sustainable development. So, how did the concept of sustainable development, how was the concept of sustainable development implemented in primary European law and in the Lisbon Treaty? We can make at this point reference to the Article 3, to Article 3, Paragraph 5 of the Treaty for the European Union, which indicates the goals of the European Union and states that the Union contributes to the sustainable development and to the elimination of poverty and to the protection of human rights. And also to Article 21, Paragraph 2 of the Treaty of the European Union, which states, and especially letter D of such treaty, which states that there is the need to favor sustainable development in countries, in developing countries, at economic, social, environmental level, with the primary objective to eliminate poverty. And furthermore, in the Treaty for the Functioning of the European Union, that Article 11 of the Treaty for the Functioning of the European Union, it has been underlined that the principle of integration has to be considered in the perspective of promoting a sustainable development. So, sustainable development not only for, so to say, reducing pollution, but also reducing poverty, which is also a prerequisite for reducing pollution. Furthermore, we remember the role of the 2030 Agenda 2030, which states, lays down the principles and the guidelines for implementing environmental law goals and environmental law rules in order to protect environment for the present and the future generations. So, based on the rules we outlined, on the principles we outlined, those principles are particularly important because they are the reference point when there is a need to interpret the so-called secondary European law. This is primary source, primary law, which is the treaties for the functioning of the European Union and the Treaty of the European Union, laying down the principles. And then we will have concretization of such principles in regulations, in directives of the European Union. So there has been a lot of debate about the concept of sustainable development and its qualification as a principle. Especially in literature, it has been very much discussed about the content of this concept of sustainable development and about the opportunity to configure it as a legal principle or rather as a goal. So I don't want to bother you with too much doctrine, but I just wanted to underline the circumstance that the principle of sustainable development is a principle which is in rapid evolution. It is not an immutable principle because in 2009, for instance, the principle of sustainable development had a shape, a much narrower shape than the shape it has today. For instance, at that point, let's make an example, the strategy for a circular economy did not properly start, was not at the core of the policies of the European Union. Now, in 2020, for instance, the strategy for the realization of a circular economy is a fundamental point in which the principle of the sustainable development finds expression. Again, with the United Nations Sustainable Goals, as you remember that the international level influences a lot the national level and the European level and the national level. So the UN Sustainable Goals very much influence the current understanding of the principle of sustainable development. And furthermore, even the European Green Deal impacted on the principle of sustainable development by shaping better its borders. So, all in all, this principle of sustainable development is somehow a moving target, something which finds more and more concretization in the evolution of the primary European law and of international law. And therefore, I would address with you two examples on how this principle may find concretization and how did it find concretization so far. And I would like, therefore, to touch 2 points: sustainable agriculture and precision agriculture, which are two of the crucial goals of the objectives of sustainable development contained in the Agenda 2030. So, indeed, the sustainable agriculture, let's start with sustainable agriculture, has a crucial role in the objectives of the sustainable development laid down in Agenda 2030. Indeed, in the final document, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, has been underlined the Objective 2, which is specifically focused on the need to stop hunger and to reach food security and to improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. In particular, the sub-objective 2.4 underlines the need to ensure production systems, food production systems which are sustainable, and to apply practices, agricultural practices, which can enhance productivity and production, which can help to conserve ecosystems, and which can enhance the capacity of adapting to climate changes, to extreme meteorological conditions, to floodings, to other natural disasters, and which can progressively improve soil and quality of soil by 2030. Very challenging thought, very challenging goal. Even here, you can understand the nature of this challenge. Let's see how to reach it. So the European Commission, in its communication Rio plus 20, towards a green economy and a better governance. This is a communication of 20 June 2011, and this communication has been emanated before Rio plus 20. So the European Commission highlighted the circumstance that the sustainable use of earth and the sustainable use of agriculture will be the key for the green economy. And the final document, the future we want, already mentioned, the final document coming out from Rio plus 20, the sustainable agriculture, jointly with the food security and with food gathering, is including among the 7 areas, thematical areas, in which on which the attention has been put. So the point 111 delineates the characters, underlying that it is the agriculture which improves food security, which eliminates hunger, and which is economically convenient as it preserves the resources, earth, water, flowers, and genetical resources of animals, biodiversity and ecosystems, which improves resilience to climate change and to natural disasters. So we acknowledge, furthermore, the necessity to maintain the natural ecological processes which support production, the food production systems. And the same declaration, the future we want, states the necessity to promote, value, and sustain the sustainable agriculture, including cultures, animals, forests, fishing, and water culture. Furthermore, even in the context of the European Union law, the European Commission in the communication, how to answer to future challenges of food, natural resources, and territory of the 18th of November 2010. This is the communication which is signed with COM 2010 number 672, COM 2010-672. So the European Commission underlined that the active handling of natural resources throughout agriculture is essential in order to guarantee the dynamism of territory and the economic vitality in the long term. This is what about the sustainable agriculture. So let's have a look at precision agriculture. Why I'm focusing on agriculture? Because as we say, as it has been rightly stated, also as an output of the Rio +20, agriculture is crucial in order to ensure the preservation of environment. It's a crucial battlefield for the next years. So what about precision agriculture? So among the instruments for the realization of the models of sustainable agriculture, a crucial role, even if it is not the only one, it is played by the precision agriculture. So the topic of precision agriculture is at the center of a study commissioned by the Group of Evaluation of Science and Technology of the European Parliament, and published in December 2016. And from this study emerged that precision agriculture is a modern concept of agricultural handling, which uses digital technology in order to monitor and optimize the production processes. So agriculture throughout digital technology, so to say, it's the agriculture 4.0, the smart agriculture, if you could say that. So according to that study of the European Parliament, the methods of precision agriculture promise a quantitative and qualitative growth of the production by using at the same time less resources: water, energy, fertilizing, pesticides. So the objective, the goal, is to reduce costs, to reduce environmental impact, and to produce food in a higher quantity and higher quality. So the methods of precision agriculture are based principally on a set of technologies which encompasses the new technologies of sensors, sat navigation, geolocalization, Internet of Things. So, a smart agriculture throughout digital technology. And these, you can imagine also the impact of what we said in previous lectures about the digital obsolescence on these products, on these instruments used for smart agriculture. So you see digital obsolescence and technological impact has a crucial role in order to ensure the functioning of smart agriculture. So you can imagine if a tractor which costs 500,000 euros or 1 million euros sometimes gets wasted because the smart component gets in obsolescence. So the smart agriculture, the precision agriculture, is growing in all Europe, where it is progressively used, increasingly used for sustaining activities, agricultural activities. So instead of applying the same quantity of fertilizing in a particular in the same amount of square meters, the precision agriculture measures the variations of the conditions in the framework of a specific particular piece of soil, and adapt as a consequence the fertilizing strategy. That means this evaluates the needs and conditions of single animals in this is a kind of personalization, a tailor-made solution for soil and animals, and optimizes the food on individual basis. So the scientific literature agrees in saying that the agriculture, precision agriculture, contributes in various ways to sustainability, confirming the idea that it reduces the quantity of chemical products, applying them only where they are needed. So environmental benefits coming from a more tailored use of chemical products and better efficiency are huge. All this has effect on the quality of water, on the reduction of consumption, on the quality of soil and air, on the mitigation of climate, and on energy question. So the European Commission, in its communication, The Future of Food and Agriculture of 29th November 2017, so the code of this communication is COM 2017 713 final. So in its communication on the future of food and agriculture, the European Commission highlighted that the future precision agriculture will have to further enhance the synergies with the politics as concerns research and innovation, in promotion of innovation, as the technological development and digitalization make possible big steps forward in the efficiency of resources and favor the agriculture which is adequate to ambient and to climate changes. And this reduces the impact environment climate, enhances the resilience and the health of the soil, and reduces costs for agriculture. So even if the diffusion of the new technologies in the sector and agricultural sector remains below the expectations. So this is the remark of the European Commission. We need more investments and more development for making agriculture smarter, for better use of resources, for more efficient use of resources, and for respecting the environment more. So this would help small and medium enterprises, agricultural enterprises, to take full advantage of these technologies and to fill the gap between their knowledge and the knowledge of big enterprises. So even the smallest enterprise would be able to have access to the most advanced technologies, and therefore it's important that the small enterprise is able to produce with the same efficiency and with the same safeguard for environment, because these technologies are able to improve efficiency in both ways: economic efficiency, environmental efficiency. So this is another crucial task at the European and international level. So I thank you very much for your attention. I'm open to all questions you may pose. Please contact me if you want. I'm looking forward to the next lecture. Thank you very much for your attention.